You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV Network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your number one source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith Johnson.
From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AFTERBUZZ TV's Louie After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's Louie After Show.
Yes. Louie.
Let's just dance for 30 minutes.
Welcome, everyone, to the AFTERBUZZ. What do you want to do, Kylie?
I want to see Louie dance for 30
You want to
minutes.
see Louie dance?
Can we have Louie dance, please? That sounds amazing. I'm in.
AFTERBUZZTV.com. Welcome to the AFTERBUZZ Louie podcast. Episode, I don't know, what are we, 7 weeks in? We got Elevator Part 6 and then Pam Part 1. We are your faithful Louie acolytes. Sitting across from me is the lovely Kylie Hodges.
Hi.
Hi. Carrie Long.
Hi.
And to my left, Shannon Rodgers.
Hola.
Texas versus wherever you guys are from.
Midwest.
Midwest.
Texas versus Midwest. I think
All
Texas
right.
wins on that one.
Texas.
Brother Steven in the booth. Hello.
All right.
Right, so we're going to jump right in to this week's 2 episodes, the exciting conclusion of the 6-story arc, Elevators. Before we get into specifics, overall, what did you guys think?
What? That's what I thought.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Watching it, you were just like, what is happening?
It was kind of a weird. I guess at the very end there was closure-ish.
Right.
But
Louie
it's
closure.
Yeah, but it wasn't. Yeah, like Kylie was saying earlier, he's very good at not resolving things, and I just. I wasn't satisfied, man.
You weren't satisfied?
I wanted something else, I guess.
Louis leaves another woman unsatisfied.
I mean, Jesus.
Next week.
He's
Next week
unsatisfied
on the
Add it
himself.
to the list.
Yes.
He emotionally blue balls himself all the time.
Oh, that's a
good
great.
point.
That's a great
Thank you.
phrase. Yeah, I'm emotionally blue balled. That's good.
Everyone tomorrow is going to be using that word.
That's gonna be that's gonna be trending.
Trademarking that one.
Boom.
So we have the conclusion of his erstwhile love affair with the lovely Amia, played by Esther Ballant, and we had a little brief appearance by Ivanka, played by
Ellen
Burstyn. Thank you. That's blank there. She's such a staple now. I don't put her in my notes, but of course the lovely Ellen Burstyn. An interesting episode because it does not go where you expect it to, and what seems like it kind of meanders through this big storm, which we got a preview of last week. Hurricane Jasmine Forsyth. Now, did you see in the Washington Post that a study confirmed that people take hurricanes and tropical storms with female names less seriously than they do the tropical and hurricanes with the male names? They evacuate more often and they follow the instructions, and as a result, of course, less people are, I guess, injured or something. Isn't that something? Isn't that? I saw that and I immediately thought of this because Hurricane Jasmine Forsyth, as we're kind of foreshadowed in the news at the top of the hour, is coming, is approaching, and at the very top we have again this specter of death. Right, 10 people died in the Bronx, and that was 10 after they died because of death or whatever it is that they say at the beginning. Right.
Well put.
Oh, he said, so many people died in the Bronx, and these people up here will be dead by 4 p.m. tomorrow.
Yeah. I mean, he wipes out later on. Louis goes ahead and wipes out most of Western Brooklyn, and then Northern Brooklyn, and presumably Queens. So a very dark episode, dark comedy, of course, because New York, as you know, is fine. But I was reminded right at the top of this thing that you see in all the articles. If you Google this will happen. Louis, cinematic TV show, and that's what it felt like. It felt like an Ingmar Bergman movie at the very beginning, with the lingering looks and the background and the foreground and music, and then just kind of someone wandering off, and then Louis chases Amia. This was after, of course, the conversation that once again he had with Nick DiPaolo, which I don't know if that served any real purpose except to kind of, I guess, review or bring you up to speed and really just kind of remind me anyway. I may have a dimmer view of this than you all do, but to me, it just seemed like such, yes, and I'm no stranger to love affairs that are built on, not much to other than physical attraction, but this idea that he can't communicate with her, and yet he's in love with her. He even says, "I love you" later on in the episode. And that to me was just like, crazy town, crazy town. But
I don't think it's too crazy.
No?
I think it's romantic.
I think it's romantic.
Look at us, we're all getting all blushy.
I know. How are the girls think of this?
But do you think he said "I love you" because he thought she can't understand? Like, if she could speak English fluently, do you think he would have been as apt to say "I love you"?
I think if she could speak English fluently, they wouldn't have the chemistry that they had between them.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Keep
And
it
I
to
think
mystery.
and I think that the idea of her is what is keeping him holding on, and she's there, and she probably enjoys the idea of him also because they can't communicate.
But what is the idea of her? What is she? Who is she? What is she?
I mean, just like with the things we've seen where she's playing with his kids and he's cooking with her and she seems to be there for him. She's at his shows with his friends while they're bullshitting and being engaged, and that's probably more than his ex-wife or any other girlfriend that he's had has been interested in his life and has, and she's just there
She's exotic.
unapologetically. Yeah.
And I think she sort of emulates the perfect woman for him because they can't communicate. There's no disagreements. She's along for the ride.
Right.
She's sort of pretty agreeable with everything. She even ate that fish.
And
she
Right, she
hated
gave
the
it a whirl.
fish.
Oh God, that was awful. And I'm like having gag reflex, remembering gag recall. But also with the whole, what was I talking about? My brain. Also just with her. It's gone, guys.
Exotic. She's exotic.
She's
She
exotic.
represents.
She's
Sorry,
with
I was so
him. She's
excited.
in love
I
with
could
him.
see,
The
you know-
idea of Louie.
and I
What
could-
was nothing sparking it?
Nothing.
I
It's
could-
not a blonde moment.
Oh, whoa.
Moving right
Blonde
along.
hostility.
No, I do feel that all of those reasons that you've given. I guess the question is: are those valid reasons? Are they good reasons? Are they up in his mind kind of fantastical fantasy reasons? Because I feel like the real nuts and bolts of wanting to communicate with someone, of having them be there and communicate with your daughters, although it seemed like they had a good time. I don't know. I'm a little creeped out by it, which I think is part of the point, is it's not meant to be this kind of, heartbreaking loss. It's almost a taste of what could be with Louis. And even that, he doesn't even get the taste to linger. Everyone has, kind of the one that got away. And on top of that, he has one that he didn't even get to figure out whether or not it was workable. It's the first glimpse at quote unquote normalcy or romance or whatever positive tag you want to put on it, and it was doomed from the start, literally with a an expiration date of 30 days from then.
I think you're thinking of it from a practical standpoint.
Yeah.
So if I was one of Louis' friends, I would find it creepy. However, if I were Louis, I would find it really romantic.
Well, sure. We all do things that we know
Exactly.
are not in our best interest or in the long term. We'd say this is not a good idea, but I'm gonna.
By God, I'm gonna do it. This is a horrible
This
plan.
is the worst idea ever.
I'm doing it.
I'll be over in 5 minutes.
Yes.
Again, this very cinematic kind of sequence where you heard chimes first, and then Amia kind of ran off. Louis follows in the church. We start to see, the wind starts to pick up. The rain is coming down, and we know that Jasmine Forsyth is coming down. I would be very curious to see what that name means or where that originated from. I'm sorry, he says. He's like, even though I don't know what I'm sorry about, I think you feel ashamed. And then he realizes that it's just so futile trying to communicate with someone that doesn't speak English, drags her back to her place, tries to get Ivanka to translate it. Even says, we had sex. And she's like, oh, you had sex, all right.
And then she throws those plates.
Right.
So I think the plate throwing, as I read online, was because she doesn't want to have to use her aunt to translate. She doesn't want to have to go through her aunt, and it's like out of frustration more than out of being mad at Louie.
I also think it's just I still honestly believe that I think that Amia can speak English. Like in my head, I'm convinced that she can. Maybe that's like a backline or whatever. But I think she can. So she starts throwing plates. It's just kind of like, no, we're not doing this. Like, let's leave it as it is. Like, it's not going to work out anyway. So let's just leave it that I can't speak. Don't translate for me, Auntie, because come, let us throw plates instead. You know, I still think that's just her like trying to distract. And that's what I think, and I'm sticking to it.
I agree.
Yeah.
But I also thought she was more frustrated that I think that she maybe is a little more conservative with her views. I just imagine that like this Eastern European woman is still like conservative with her like morals and wouldn't want her aunt to know that she slept with the dude in her apartment building.
True.
And so she's like frustrated that he told her that even though she's translating. Right. And also she's supportive of it.
Well, every Eastern European that I know
What?
is just
I'm wrong.
a filthy. No, I'm just kidding.
I was gonna say I don't know enough to make a valid point.
The one thing about Europeans is that they're very European with their values. So they break the dishes, and Louie again does this little, what I think, I'm always thinking in terms of DJ metaphors, where he's just doing a little scratching and a little kind of tricks or, dribbling between his legs, where he cuts out the dialogue and the breaking of the plates. And all we hear is the rain and the thunder, but we see, the intensity of their argument or whatever it is that's happening in the kitchen.
Because it's like it continues with the whole words don't matter. They don't
Exactly.
matter.
Yeah.
And you see his mouth keeps moving. It doesn't matter. It's like the emotion. It's what's happening in the very moment that everyone should be dialed into and not whatever he may say.
Right.
Which I just love how Louie does that.
Well, that's incredible because it's expressionistic. It's this idea that the specifics, and there actually came a moment. I mean, this is the least amount of notes that I've taken all season. There just came a moment where I said, okay, you don't need to write down every little thing. Just let kind of the feelings and the emotions wash over you and really take it in. And I think that's why people are saying this is almost like a movie. This is almost like a miniseries. They're not self-contained episodes. This is a larger emotional arc that mirrors some of the stuff that we may be feeling in real life, which we'll get to in the second half. But and then he wipes out Western Brooklyn. Everyone starts evacuating, and that's a pretty intense evacuation zone. Everything below 23rd Street, which is ostensibly a third or whatever, maybe like a fifth of Manhattan, and certainly a large concentration of people. Unfortunately, a lot of people that don't have the means to get out of. So I think that's also part of it, is that if you're in downtown Manhattan, you're screwed because there is no way for you to go anywhere. You'd have to head to the mainland, which is New Jersey. So they're evacuating. And we have this little, and again, Louie not letting it get too heavy, not letting it get too intense. His preparation as he goes out into the world, he kind of ties the plastic bags, and then he almost suffocates himself.
Great little gag. And everybody, I used to live in Chicago for years, and you always did it like, well, gotta go out in the snow. Let me put on like 6 of these, pharmacy or grocery bags, and then wrap them around, put your boots on, and it was like not weird to see someone with boots. But then I move out here, and I did it one time. People were like, what
are you doing?
Are you okay? Yeah. Do you need money? I'm like, nah, I'm wrapping my feet in bags.
I just don't want moisture.
Comfortable is what I am.
That's right.
Staying dry.
I'm staying dry, thank you.
Very dry feet.
And then he goes out into the street to kind of try to, and there's no traffic, there's nothing running. The subway is closed, of course, because the subways frequently flood in New York during rainstorms. And then he goes to a Hertz, which I was like, is that a joke or product placement or what? But it's fine. And of course the guy at the counter is just perky as can be. He's like, hey, how can I help you? And welcome to Hertz.
Like there's nothing going on outside.
Right, exactly.
Just dialed in. Like, I just work here.
Yeah. He's happy to have a job and stay dry and not have to be anywhere. And it turns out he is uptown. They mentioned that in the episode. He is, because he has to go down there to go to rescue his daughters. He gets on the phone with them. Okay,
I like when they are breaking the plates and in this intense moment, and he's like, wait a minute, this is happening where my kids are. Like he just immediately
full stop. Yeah.
He's a dad.
And this switch was now way more important.
Way more important. Priority number one. Didn't matter if Amia left that night. It probably wouldn't have mattered. You know what I mean? It just absolutely didn't matter. He was like, I'm coming to get my kids.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah.
Well, it establishes the primacy of his family in his life, and how later on, when she says, or when the waiter reads the letter from her, he translates her words, and she explains that she needs to return home to be with her family, and that is her real family. He does not resist that. He gets it, because he knows that no matter what happens in this world, the moment if it's your family, that's it. Everything stops and everything is secondary to that, especially when they're younger, especially when they need you, especially if you're a single parent. That's
Yeah.
it. You're their lifeline to the world. So that's it. So now we have Louis. So now Louis rented a car and he's driving around. Now, so there's a really interesting thing that's happening with the TV in my bedroom. It has some sort of, it's my wife's TV from before we met, and it has some sort of a light sensor so that when the room is darker, it darkens itself. Now, the problem is I keep increasing the brightness of the TV, and then after about 3 minutes, it flickers back to the default. So I'm literally watching some of the storm scenes in relative darkness, unable to know exactly what I'm seeing. And I was just like, and again, kind of just let's let this contribute to the chaos of what's happening in Louis. So Louis is driving along. All of a sudden, he's, boom, the guy comes to his window. It's Jesus Christ. He jumps back and rolls down the window. And once again, it's one of these, New York crazies. It's like, have you seen a dog? And he's like, what? And there's, again, extending it, it's kind of a screenwriting thing where you have them go, what? Did you repeat the line? And it's a way kind of dragging out the scene. It's a dog. You're missing a dog? Like, no, I don't have a dog. Have you seen a dog? And it's just like, man, get out of here.
Yeah,
it's
right.
Like,
And then, of course, the great slow roll up. Like, once again, Louis and with just adding a little levity.
Yeah. Just being like, man, get out of my face. Louis arrives at Janet's downtown with the girls, and once again, Jane is not freaking out. Jane is just. She's
red rum. She is red rum this season. She is crazy.
She's a little possessed. I think she's possessed. She might still think she's in
Demonic
her
possession?
dream. Well,
she might think that. Yeah.
because she's
I
just
think
doesn't.
that's true. I feel like every line she's gotten since they established that whole dream thing a couple weeks ago has been like she's like accepting life for some other from some other perspective or like some
Just
other situation.
different reality.
Yeah.
She's not
She ain't
fully
dialed
there.
into this world. Right here at AfterBuzz. She is not dialed in here.
She is not here, but if she wants to
is
dial
not.
in here, we
She's
do
not
have
here.
a phone number where she
Jane's
can dial
not
in.
with us.
Maybe that's the thing. Maybe we'll reach out to her and get her on the show. But Janet is freaking out, which I thought was a little uncharacteristic of her, but I get it. It's necessary to underscore their need and the role that Louis has in their family as the man and provider. Patrick gets thrown under the bus or under something because we don't know where he is and he hasn't shown up.
Nowhere.
But that's actually understandable. Unless you have a landline, it's going to be hard if you're stuck in another part of the city to get down there. And he just says, let's go. Let's go. Let's evacuate. And so they do. We cut to commercial. When we return, we are in a restaurant now, presumably, after the storm, obviously. And I couldn't tell if it was a Hungarian restaurant or the waiter happened. They went to a restaurant where there was a particular waiter who spoke Hungarian. That was never truly explained.
I don't know. Also, do you think that ending is the beginning of the episode? Because she walks away from the where they're outside in the what do you call those things? The gazebo. I think it possibly might be, and this is after because.
Wait, why do you think that?
Like it's almost like a flashback.
It's
at
like
the
a
end.
flashback. The beginning is a flashback to the end of the ending, like the next.
No, I know
step
what you
of
mean.
the
Hannibal did this in season 2. They showed what happens at the very end of the season, and then they show you everything that leads up to what that was.
So you think the restaurant was before the hurricane?
Yes.
Okay.
No, after. So the hurricane happens, the restaurant scene happens, and when they're in the outside of the gazebo and in the woods or whatever, that's right after the restaurant.
The gazebo wasn't before the church?
I thought.
No? Am I confusing?
Maybe Louis doing this to us on purpose,
Because
it's very stormy.
the
The whole
timeline.
episode's very
Actually,
chaotic.
The timeline feels weird. I just feel like that would have been a point where she would have walked away. I don't know.
Well,
Just had a
Interesting.
little thought in my head.
I certainly feel that the punctuation on this one, on this particular episode, actually happened in the second episode with Dr. Charles Grodin, who did his little bit that we'll get to in a moment. But I thought that might have been kind of tacked on there as kind of a post-mortem and kind of assessing what he feels like. So, we end with this letter that she's written, and even though it's news, it's not news to us. Everything that she says in there makes sense because we knew something was eating at her. We knew that she was not in whole hog post-sex, that there was something there. And when Louie finds out that it's because of her family and it's because of her life, I mean, that's a lot to ask of someone. A, B, you have to ask them. That hasn't
Yeah.
we haven't discussed it. So
Yeah.
it's you're really kind of clutching to even pretend to think that it's a possibility that you and this woman might end up together. And so when that happens, we see the waiter kind of dabbing his eyes and removing himself.
Kind of dabbing his eyes.
He's
Like,
He was weeping.
Yeah, he was a
I
full
loved
blown
that.
weeping. Yeah, he, that's just a really beautiful ending, sentimental without being saccharine, and really just you get it. This is life. These are adults. This is how this is done. I'm always fascinated because some relationships, you just either hang on too long or you have to wait until there's this big blowout before you actually separate. And this is what an adult separation looks like before it all goes. And that's neither better nor more satisfying because you think, well, I'm going to milk it for as much time as I can with this person. I'm going to take it right, I'm going to drop them off at the airport as he did with Pam a few seasons ago. And I'm going to really just, and you realize that, well, in a lot of ways, like ripping off the Band-Aid, in a lot of ways, defining and saying, well, this was nice, but it's over. There it is. Can be much better and much more satisfying than, Louie calling after Pam and she leaving him, and I'm sure, him getting into a funk on the ride home, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
So-
And there was a nice line, eternity begins tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, it's done.
Yeah.
Like, it was just, and you were talking about punctuation happening in the next episode, but it also was like this initial, just the inciting moment at the end of the episode that eternity starts tomorrow, because then when he runs in, the doctor completely talks about how eternity is the best part,
Right.
which, we'll get to.
Yeah.
But I just loved it. It was such a fluid transition between
really
the two
was.
episodes. Even though the episode was just insane and it felt so
Yeah.
choppy, yet made sense somehow, or we convinced ourselves it makes sense. That's the thing with Louie this season. I'm like, what is happening? And then it's like, is it really making sense, or am I just trying to make it make sense? Is Louie messing with us?
Well, I definitely think Louie's messing with us. But it's this idea that no matter what's going on in your life emotionally, real life will get in your
Trumps
way.
it.
It will always trump it,
Right.
for sure, because, disasters, both man-made and natural, will appear, and you have to just really enjoy the moments where that's not happening. The moments where there isn't some sort of emergency or some sort of, or worse, where somebody is hurting or dying or sick or whatever. So, even in the midst of all of this, it's very, Louie is doing this exploring these very dark themes and these very kind of, death and illnesses and separation is looming. Carpe diem, just don't carpe like I carpe, because he's right, because it's a bit of a mess. Listen, all of us here at AfterBuzz are a buzz today because Maria Menounos' new book, The Every Girl's Guide to Diet and Fitness, is out today. Pick it up, please.
She looks good.
She looks good.
She looks good.
she looks fantastic.
She went from a size like a 15 to a 2, 14 to a 2. It's got great recipes in there, ideas for exercise routines and stuff, and kind of her
even
story.
if you're not looking to, drop a ton of weight, this is just a great guide to keep you healthy and has some, easy to follow tips that won't overwhelm you. You won't have to change your life. Make it
I
crazy.
love that when you can just sneak it in
Yeah.
every day. A little
Exactly.
something here and there.
Adding little things here and
Yeah.
there that really does help keep you.
Because I feel like people that delude themselves into thinking like, oh, I've changed. You see
you have
them,
to
you're like, what are you
cut
doing?
everything cold turkey
Yeah,
and
yeah,
just
yeah.
start
Gotta
all
go
new
all
habits.
out.
Like,
Yeah, I'm
you
drinking
don't have
chili
to.
powder
Yeah.
and lemon
I did that
juice.
for 1
Shitting out
hour.
fat. Just shitting out fat.
Have you ever weighed yourself pre-bathroom and then after bathroom? You guys,
Yes.
seriously, everybody listening, I want you to do
That's
it.
a thing?
And then I want you to tweet me how much weight you lost.
You've never done
We know-
that?
we
At
know-
Carrie Carey.
We'll get a prize to whoever
I
has
have a
lost the
scale
most weight
next to my
in one
toilet.
bathroom sitting.
One
literally.
AfterBuzz mug.
I love it.
One AfterBuzz.
Systems detect that a host has wandered off the side.
Just
A
saying.
robotic overload.
Saying.
Well, all right. So, episode 10 of this season, we've got Pamela. Oh boy.
Pam, Pam, Pam.
As soon as I saw the title, and we knew, right? She's an executive producer and a close friend of Louis C.K. So we knew that she was gonna be that. She's back and she's bad.
Oh, yes.
But first we have, like I said, this little coda with Charles Grodin, who's just been an absolute
I want that doctor every minute of the show.
Right? He should get his own spin-off show.
And the three-legged dog was
I
back.
want his
Yep.
dog.
Wasn't that a nice cameo?
So adorable.
Out in the snow.
Do you think there's any significance that this scene took place in the winter? So it obviously had to have been like a good chunk of time between the hurricane when she left. Assuming
I
she
see.
left. You know what I mean?
Yeah, at least a month or two, because it can be. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, nice call.
Yeah, he explained, and once again, now why Louie continues to tell this man his problems is beyond me, because he's clearly not the warm.
It's not the sound
Calls him a classic idiot.
Yeah.
Like, it's always just verbal abuse from this doctor, but yet you're like, I feel better.
Louis loves that abuse, though.
He does.
You know, like
Yeah.
he seeks out misery. I mean, the guy kind of said it, like you're seeking out misery, but like
Misery
it even
weighs
goes
down
with
the
his
miserable.
relationships too.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, he goes after shit that he shouldn't.
Yeah, and so the doctor tells him, look, kissing her isn't love. I know you think that's love. It's the missing her that is the love. This is where it's at, and this is where you want to be. He says,
It
you're
just
so
kind
lucky.
of broke my heart thinking
know,
about
right,
that.
Shannon?
I'm like, yeah, that sucks.
Yeah.
And
That
it's-
shit sucks, man.
And it's true, this is the good part. This is the bad part is when you forget her. You lucky son of a bitch. I haven't had my heart broken since Madeline since I was 35. So we're looking like 40 years of, and it's true. Rather, it's this glass, half full, half empty approach to life. You had this thing. You can sit there and go, oh man, I hate this thing because of the feelings that it left me with. Or you can say, well, you know what, you're lucky to have that. Because some people don't have that, and they're kind of, the Santa Barbara guy that's crazy, and he's just like, look, it's some people go through life and they don't connect with anyone, and that's crappy. But when
Yeah,
you do, take what you can get.
Exactly, like the doctor saying, you're chasing this thing, you're chasing this happiness or this love, and then ultimately knowing that it's going to end in some kind of sadness, making you feel
You
bad.
knew it was coming.
You know it's coming, but you do with every situation like that. I guess you either it's happily ever after, or you're gonna break up, or you're not in the right. But you're gonna feel that other side of it, and so I think it's always worth it to fight for. Even if it is
you're
10 days.
romantic.
I'm totally a romantic. That's why I always get my heart broken.
You're a walking poem, just like Louis.
A walking
Guys.
poem. That's right.
Guys, where's Connor? Connor O'Malley.
Oh, no.
Connor O'Malley's on his
Shannon
way.
is
You can't say that on the... Oh,
I already
man.
said it. I'm sorry.
He's adorable. I mean, I like all nerdy boys of that type.
Young
Let's just
Louise.
not put it as just him. Guys. Got a
She's
reputation
open to
uphold.
everything. I love it.
Now,
They're just messing with me, actually.
lest we get too sentimental, Louis does this nice tonal transition between being really deep and philosophical at the beginning and be like, yeah, man, love, man. And who knows, maybe that actually fuels him to reach out to Pam, which is what he does. But there's this kind of tonal shift in the
Well,
episode.
she texted him a picture of him. Please.
Oh, right. That's right. That's
It
right.
was even he's looking at it, crossing the street. I was like, please almost get hit by a car, because when you're in love, nothing like everything else
Yeah.
is gone.
You're living
I
in
love
a bubble.
The world's
that
a
little
blur,
boom,
yeah.
just like that. He's on to the next. He's over. He's
That would
over
be-
Amia.
Yeah. He snaps out of it, and or not snaps out of it, but he finds something else to occupy his mind.
Yes.
Put that energy towards, yeah.
And I like how the show then becomes, doesn't become Pam loves Louis or something like that. Because it's almost like, even though he alludes to it and he says, listen, you said you want to give it a shot, let's give it a shot. And she's like, that ship has sailed. They go right back to their abusive dynamic, which is what we want to see anyway.
Game on.
In
Right,
comedy, we don't
that's-
want to see something new. We don't want to see anything resolved.
Anything resolved,
We
yeah.
just want to constantly see the same problem come up again in funny and new,
Yes.
in new and interesting ways, right? And my favorite line when he gets the phone call from the babysitter canceling on him is she says, maybe it's your balls calling from wherever they went. From
I
wherever
wanna
they
use
were.
that line. I can't wait to have an
It's a
excuse.
great,
to use
great
it.
line. Bam! Yes!
So,
Great.
so yeah, what did you all, did you know that, did you expect that Pam would say, hey, tough shit, it's over, or that moment has passed?
Yeah, I think she's doing it to mess with him.
Yeah.
Totally.
So
She
you
seems
think
like
there is some affection still underneath there?
With Pam, yeah. But I think she's nuts. And so she's just going to manipulate Louie because she likes having control.
Yeah.
It's all a power trip.
Right.
And now she has the upper hand because he's coming and begging her. you know?
Right. Yeah. She made herself vulnerable once to him, and that's it. I mean, he should have capitalized on that if he had any interest. Of course, he had the thing with Amia going. But again, even when that happened, I knew that was, once again, right. He's not going to pick the smart thing. He's not going to have the brains to actually play them both. You know, to see one while the other one's in town, and then when she leaves, like that would be too smart for Louis. Instead, he blows off Pam at the one chance he gets. Ironically enough, being honest with himself and being like, you're a little much for me. I've got this other good thing going, and it comes back to kind of bite him because Amia leaves, and now he's ready to get serious with Pam, and Pam's like, you must be joking.
It was great, that little side conversation, which to me I thought was like mafia, oh, the guy's dead. It was kind of like talking about Louis, like Louis was alive and full of love with, Amia, and that was a new Louis, and then that guy's dead. He's back to his old habits, a.k.a. Pam.
Yep. And what a great little gag where Pam kind of gives him up and just like, makes fun of him for listening, and she's just like, shut up, and then looks over, and now the two guys are looking at him, he's looking at them. Everyone's looking at everybody. Yeah, just kind of.
I love it.
And that happens too. I tell you what, not mafia hits are not killing all the time, but you definitely you overhear people, or you'll see you'll hear people on the street that are on their cell phone. No, screaming at the top of their lungs, and whoever's on the other line just going at it. No, I'm coming over there. No, I'm coming over there. I'm gonna get my friends. I'm gonna come over there, and it's just this whole thing where you're just announcing to the world that you're gonna commit murder. Like, is that?
I'm bringing it back.
I'm bringing
a shovel. I'm going to bash your head.
You're not going to walk away from this one. Yeah. There's no way. At 12:30, second floor. Yeah.
And these heinous acts are only committed where people speak like this, apparently. And they only are the people with cell phones that yell.
That's right. Every time. That's
prepaid cell phones.
Prepaid. That's right. Burners.
Thank goodness for that.
So and then the babysitter cancels. Pam says, I'll do it. And then we have, because Louis has a couple of gigs that night, we see what is easily the longest stand-up bit of the entire series. Usually it's a joke, or the longest that it goes was, I don't know if you remember a few seasons ago, where he deals with the heckler, with the girl that's kind of heckling him. Or not heckling, that's I guess heckling. And so he tears into her. So that becomes the scene. But these little stand-up interludes have never been this long, and this was, 5, 6, 7 minutes of comedy. Now, Kylie, you said you had seen some of it.
So Louis dropped into the Comedy Store here in LA a few months ago, and I just so happened to be there. And so they let him go up and do some material, and generally when comics of his
Stature.
Thank you.
Status.
They can just drop on in at any point.
I was like, what is the word? I just said the first thing that came to my mind.
Usually comics like him, they can just show up at a comedy venue, and if there's a show going on, they will literally pause whatever their lineup is and let that comic go up and try new material. So Louis did that bit, and then I followed him. There's 3.
Which bit? Sorry, just to clarify.
This entire bit that we saw, he did basically word for word.
Okay.
And there are 3 different rooms at the Comedy Store, so I followed him to all 3, and he did the same bit every time. He tweaked some things, but I'm just thinking, like, I wonder if he had already shot this episode, or if he was trying it out to see how it works before they threw it into the script. Because it doesn't really matter with the rest of the storyline. The content, it's a lot about God and
It doesn't.
Garlic dick.
But I know that people do that a lot. Patton Oswalt was doing open mics at the Palace, which is where he started off at, basically doing his CD that he put out last year. Was it a year ago? Yeah. So yeah, it's not uncommon. I would think that he did it before they shot this.
Yeah.
And even if the other scenes were shot, that stand-up routine could have been shot last week and put in. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I feel like that stand-up, the whole thing, even though it was kind of like, what are we talking about? The whole thing about God and like not having that faith and not really ever knowing, and then going into the whole wife beater thing. If you think about, like, it actually plays right into the following scene.
Oh, yeah.
With Pam.
Perfectly.
Like the
Right.
whole like having faith. Like Louis doesn't even have faith in himself, you know, and then the whole wife beater thing, and then obviously we'll get to about that scene, but it's like, wow, and I would love to ask Louis. So Louis, if you want to come to AfterBuzz,
Louis
tweet at
watching.
him.
you can sit in my chair.
We have thousands of ideas for you.
Thousands, like camouflage dildo, callback. But I would love to know, like, what, like, you know, like you said, maybe they just put that set in, or does he come up with a joke and then say, hey, this will work perfect into the episode script, or vice versa, or like.
I definitely think that they intertwine. I meant that it was. Even if it was already written, it just didn't need to be shot at the same time. The other
Right,
stuff did. So
totally,
it could have
yeah.
been a couple. They could have shot it, you know, right
Once he
after
got
they
it, nailed it,
did.
yeah.
Yeah. That's all I meant.
Yeah.
But it definitely is kind of like a forward or a precursor to the scenes that are to follow.
Yeah.
Well, and what do we think about those scenes? Of course, we're talking about when he arrives to
And
back
what's
to his
up with the
home.
ladies on red couches?
Right? What? That
That
was nice.
signifier?
Oh, another.
She was
right?
sleeping on a red couch, and
I love that
was
was the only
sleeping.
thing left in the apartment was the couch where he first saw her.
Yeah.
Right.
We cannot take this back. We will leave the couch. But they took like the hutch and the piano.
But the couch is.
This
No, we can't
That
hear a
couch has
this
been
couch
through.
is not for hungry.
That's what I was going to say. Maybe the
Not my
couch came with the
style.
apartment, and that's part of it. You're supposed to hand it off to.
I'm gonna just
Gross.
rub my naked body all over this couch. Oh yeah.
So comes home and Pam is asleep, and what happens is this kind of awkward exchange where Frank, I mean, beyond awkward. I mean, it's
Awful.
sexual assault that that he just kind of forces himself on her after she repeatedly says no, and what are you doing, and what are you
At first,
And
I
the-
really didn't think he was trying to kiss her. I thought it
just
was
like moving in for a hug or something.
yeah, or like he was trying to tell her something, like hold still, I want to tell you this, but it was just this like
Awkward,
rape.
aggressive.
It was
Yeah,
like
and
she was like, "This is you're not even good at rape."
Yeah, this would be
well.
rape, but you're too stupid.
Yeah.
It's just odd to me. Like she's not all there because when she told him a few episodes ago that she was willing to rekindle things with him, she had said like, you know, if you want to try that whole kissing thing, we can.
Right.
And then now she like very obviously does not want to kiss him. Wouldn't that mean you're not in him? Are there relationships out there where people are committed to each other and they just don't physically?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe she
That's-
just knows that she has some sort of power over Louis and can, you know, act this manipulative, conniving way. And it's not fair.
No.
Well, I think on some level that is what she likes about him. That is to say that physical affection between the two of them is not what connects them.
Okay.
That's Louis kind of reaching out and trying to normalize things, and she concedes when she came to him and says, you know, well, if you want to try that, like you said, the whole kissing thing, bleh, but I'll do it. To be like, okay, I get that this is a big deal to you, so I'll do it. But what she wants is the, hey, pally pal, for us to be able to run around town and bust each other's balls and make fun of other people and drink and just be stupid. And it's almost a very like bro
Yes.
relationship.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, dude, come on. And you see this sometimes when one of the bros gets into a relationship. So you're like, oh man, I can't. I'm going to Bed Bath and Beyond later. We're taking ballroom dancing lessons or something.
Hey, your balls are calling.
Yeah, your balls are calling. What are you talking about, bro? What are you? And so there's again that inversion of the traditional narrative, which is usually, you know, the woman that wants to do these nesting things, and it's the guy that's like, oh, what do you do? I gotta go play basketball with the guys, babe, or you know, we're going to a strip club or whatever it is. Instead, it's Louis trying to be normal in his own messed up weird way. And she's just like, what do you, like, this is not, we don't do like this. This isn't our relationship,
Right.
you know? And so, you know, even though she is kind enough to still remain in his life by saying, you know, I'll watch your kids, it's no problem. You
Doesn't
have
take the
wonderful
money.
kids.
Like,
Yeah, doesn't take the
obviously,
money,
she's
says you
doing
have
it
a
as a
great
favor.
kids. It's clearly a friend thing. Louis, you know, just trying to find any opening and get in there and try to connect with her in this really just awful way that I'm like you, Kylie, that I thought, oh, wait, what is happening? Oh, okay, he's trying to kiss her. Oh, he's going to give up. Surely we've
said no.
She said no. 30 seconds have now passed of you attempting to kiss her. This is not going to happen. And he just pushes it and pushes it. I mean, he's literally to
Pushes
the point.
her in a corner.
Yeah, pushes her into the corner. She tries to escape. He closes the door and puts his hand out. Now we're in full blown rapist territory at this point. It's
So inappropriate.
Meanwhile, one of his daughters, like little construction hearts,
Right.
is at the
Yeah,
door.
oh, yeah.
It's like,
door.
wait,
Yeah.
you have daughters. Do you want them treated like this someday? Like, I just
Right,
don't
right.
get. Is it a chromosome? Is it a gene thing? What happens, Mario?
He
Well,
started thinking.
As the
like,
only male here,
I-
clearly you know the answer.
I just think it's his frustration, not speaking for all guys and not whatever. I just think in his case, his frustration,
He's desperate.
his desperation, and realizing that there are many things in his life. The problem with neurotic people, to say nothing of guys that are like this, is they feel that the world is acting upon them. They don't take control, or they don't understand what their role in their fates are, which is, sorry to keep bringing this up, but this idiot serial killer in Santa Barbara, the kid that shot up everyone. It's this idea that you play the victim and you sit here and you go, oh, well, the world is acting against me, not realizing, woe is me, not realizing that, you can master, if not your entire destiny, certainly aspects of your life. You can be a better person, you can reach out, you can connect, you can whatever. And so I think with him, for someone with little to no social skills, for a guy that hangs out until 2 or 3 in the morning with other comics with, as we've seen in previous episodes, also with no social skills and, weird kind of family lives, that this is their attempt. This is, you get that kind of breaking point of like, that's it. I'm going to take a stand. I'm tired of people pushing me around. And they do a thing that is so wildly inappropriate and does not, and then it kind of snowballs because it doesn't get them the reaction that they hoped. He thought that if he just puts his arm out and he's a man, that she would be like, oh, Louie, you're so macho. And then boom, starts making out with him. And so he's like, okay, well, what is that breaking point? Where is that point at which she will just melt into my arms? And kudos again to Louie and his entire crew for putting together this thing that, even though is very conflicting and it's very messed up, it's different from anything else that you're going to see. It's not this they're not going to passionately tear each other's clothes off. I actually felt even more awkward when he made love to Amia.
Oh,
When it was this kind of
when he was
passionate-
eating her hair.
Right. It was
Yeah.
just- that was like, oh no, and that's kind of more normal
I
or
thought that was
traditional.
adorable.
Did you? I don't-
Oh, shit.
For those who are listening, Mario's trying to eat.
I'm trying to
Shannon's
eat
hair.
Shannon's hair because that's
worked
clearly
for
what she
Louie. She's into
wants.
it.
That's what she just said.
You digging
Why
that?
do you think I wear leave-in conditioner?
Is that why they're doing
prepared.
all the flavors now in the conditioners and the shampoos?
so.
Like avocado.
To taste the.
Yeah.
You're like, is there some pico in here?
Because that did not. Yeah,
Get
that
on
That'd be
did.
there.
great on my chest.
Get up in there.
That was not around when we were younger. That was, you just had Selsun Blue and everything else. So that leaving the episode on a very strange note like that. She does kiss him, but it's very reluctant and it's very just kind of not pleasant at all. And
And he's excited about it.
He'll take it.
He thinks it's a win. Yeah, that's a victory. That's
Yeah.
a victory.
Well, that's the scary thing, right? Because
That's
we
a
think like,
victory.
uh-oh, this encourages him to kind of treat that way, to be that way. So, I don't know. I don't know if it just got. I didn't see as much being written about it today. Maybe it got lost in the Game of Thrones hubbub this week. But that's certainly worth talking about and very timely again, given what's been in the news and yes, all women and that sort of thing. So really interesting stuff. Kudos to him for putting that together, kind of ahead of the zeitgeist and saying that this and again this is the character. This is not him in real life, obviously. So for just putting it out there and kind of having it
Wait,
be
Louie's
provocative.
not a reality show?
It's not a
Wait,
reality
hold
show.
up.
Those are
what
not as
have
girls.
we been talking about?
We've been talking.
Oh shit!
I'll tell you what. We are
I've
gonna.
been wondering if I was going to have blonde girls if I didn't know.
It's totally
for
possible.
sure.
Is that
Okay.
awkward? Yeah.
If you do it, with a half Mexican fella.
Mexican ginger. Half Mexican, half Polish. I
Half
think.
Mexican, yeah. So let's go to predictions as we see what.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Jasmine Forsyth is coming.
That's right.
That's our prediction.
Let me go to my left and we'll go clockwise. Shannon, what is your prediction?
My prediction, maybe he's going to try to rekindle things with Pamela, tell her that he was being kind of awkward for the night, and then I really don't know where it's going to go from now.
Do you want them to end up together?
I don't.
No?
I don't. No.
Okay.
But I want him to maybe have more balls in front of her. You know, not let her just steamroll the conversation or steamroll their situation, their dynamic together, and maybe she'll even gain some more respect for him.
I think there's a huge middle ground here. It doesn't have to be Pam is abusing him and he is sexually assaulting her. There's a lot of leeway.
Yeah.
There's a lot to explore between the two of them. Who knows if they'll do that? Carrie, what do you think?
Man, it is hard to say after this week's episodes. I don't know. I'm wondering if his ex-wife Janet, with the whole at the very final scene, the girls were like, and he was telling them, don't tell your mom, all these things. I'm wondering if there's going to be some type of conflict between Janet and Louie again, and she's just going to blow up, or maybe there's some weird moment they have.
Okay.
I don't know. I feel like because it's mentioned, it's been like kind of breadcrumb throughout the season about her and Louie dating people, even though she acted like she was happy for him. So I don't know, something in there, but honest to God, I don't have a damn clue. Which is great.
Which
well
is
done,
wonderful.
Louie.
Yeah, that's what we want.
Good job.
Kylie, what do you
Story of
think?
my life.
Piggybacking onto your prediction,
Yes,
Carrie,
please.
I think that the girls are gonna tell Janet, and she's gonna get pissed at Louie. And we didn't really talk about this, but I feel like with the first episode tonight, with the storm, they were hugging, and it showed Jane and Lily like smiling that their parents were embracing. And so it's kind of like the girls might have felt like maybe their parents were making up, and it did kind of seem like they were on good terms for that moment, obviously.
Sure.
Oh,
And
interesting.
we've seen them
Yeah.
fighting so much throughout the season, so
Yeah.
maybe it's like, I feel like they're just going to fall back into their old ways and they'll fight again.
Sure.
But it might be because of Pam.
I think they're going to get back together. That's what I'm going to say.
Louie and
Louie
From left
Janet.
field. Didn't
Yep.
see that coming.
Yeah, I think I don't know. There was something about the hugging and the dynamic.
Yeah,
it
that's
would be a
really-
terrible idea, which is why they might do it. So who knows?
Great.
We will see. We'll be back next week.
Yeah.
Let's go around the horn. Some Twitter and Instagram handles.
Yeah. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at the Kylie Hodges.
All right, you guys can follow me at Comedia Carrie. That's COMEDIACARRIE. That's Comedia Carrie.
And I'm Shannon Joy Rodgers on Instagram and Twitter. I am Shannon J. Rodgers.
I am Cinemario, CINEMARIO. We're performing right now. If you're listening to this live and you're around Hollywood, get down to the Clubhouse. The Clubhouse is also doing a Kickstarter to stay afloat. It's a wonderful venue for improv
They're
and
moving
comedy.
venues.
Are they
as well.
moving?
Yeah,
Okay.
they're moving.
There we are. So we got a couple of days left on that. Check that out. I'm Mario. Thank you so much, Steven in the booth.
Thanks, Steven.
And we will be back next week with some recaps of 2 more episodes of the best show on television, Louie on FX.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
Thank you for watching AfterBuzz TV on YouTube. For more of your favorite after shows and interviews, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion on the episode in the comment section below here. We'd love to see what you guys are buzzing about. Thanks again. Buzz you later.